So now we're going to simplify. We're going to need a factor first, and then we can simplify this problem. It tells me that in the numerator I have y squared and a negative 15y and a positive 54. This is all over y squared, a negative y, and a negative 72. So I notice that I've got a trinomial in the top and I've got a trinomial in the bottom. The way that we would solve this is to do the AC method. So if y'all are okay with this, I'm just going to go ahead and call this top one 1. And then we can call this denominator 2. I'm going to work on them separately right here, and then we're going to put them back on top of each other. Okay, so I'm going to work on 1 right here. And what I have is my y squared negative 15y plus 54. The AC method, I know I need to identify what my A is, what my B is, and what my C is. AC method, multiply A times C. 1 times 54 is 54. Signs are the same, so it's positive. Next step is to find factors of 54. So technically, what multiplies together to give us 54? Well, I know 1 and 54 does. That will always work. And then 54 is even, so I can divide it by 2. I get 2 and 27. 54 can also be divided by 3. So I get 3 and 18. If you're unsure, you can try 4. You notice it's a decimal, so no, it doesn't divide by 4 equally. It doesn't end in 5 or 0, so it's not going to be divisible by 5. We can see that it is divisible by 6, and what we get is 9. It's not divisible by 7. It's not divisible by 8. And then we would loop back around, but there's no reason to write all of these twice. So you're done right there. Those are all of the factors that multiply together to give me 54. What I'm curious about now is what combination of factors here can I combine together that would equal my B, which is a negative 15. So I know it needs to be a negative 15. These factors need to multiply to give me a positive 54 and combine to give me a negative 15. So that would mean that both of these numbers are going to have to be negative to add to a negative 15 and to multiply to a positive 15. And if you look, let me use my green marker. If I do negative 6 and negative 9, that equals negative 15, which is my B, which that's what I want, right? And if you do the multiplication, 6 times 9 is 54. Signs are the same, so it's positive. So this is what I want. I do want these two factors. I'm going to actually take that B term in my trinomial and I'm going to expand it so that what I can do is factor by grouping. So we keep our first term, which is y squared. We're going to expand our negative 15y with these two factors right here. So we get negative 6. Don't forget your variable because it's coming from the negative 15y. Then we get negative 9. Also, don't forget your variable. I didn't really do anything. It's still equivalent. If I combine these together, I get a negative 15y. So that's why you have to make sure that you don't forget your variable right here. And then we have our positive 54. Like I said, I wanted to expand that B term so I could do factor by grouping. And factor by grouping with 4 terms, we're actually going to just kind of split it down the middle. I'm really only looking at the left-hand side right now. I don't have a ton of room right here, so I'll try to write small. But you look at the first 2 factors, and what we want to do is pull out the GCF, which is the greatest common factor. What do they have in common that I can pull out? Well, there's no coefficient really that's in common. We have a 1 and a 6. They have no common factors. But both of these terms do have a y. And what you do is you pull out the smallest exponent because that does have 1y and this does also have 1y. And then here we divide So you're actually going to divide both of these terms by our GCF. If you do y squared divided by y, if you use the quotient rule, you keep and subtract your exponent. So 2 minus 1 would be 1. Then if you do negative 6 times y. Okay, so 6 divided by that 1, right? 6 divided by 1 is 6. Signs are different, so it's negative. Y divided by y. Think of your quotient rule. Y divided by y would be keep and subtract. So 1 minus 1 is 0. So we would have y to the 0 power, which just becomes 1. Or you can look at it as like y over y. They would cancel each other. So you're done on this left-hand side. I'm going to actually cover this up now. A very important step when you do the AC method is whatever sign we have right here needs to be written. That's why I don't do parentheses over the first two terms and then parentheses over the second two terms, because very easily would I be drawing parentheses over whatever sign is here, and then that sign unfortunately gets lost. So doing a little slash right here and covering it up with my pencil really helps. So if I bring down whatever sign, if it's positive, you write positive. If it's negative, you write negative. This problem, we have a negative sign. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing I did a second ago, which look at both of these terms and see what is their greatest common factor. If you look at the coefficients, I have 9 and I have 54. So what is the largest number that can divide both of those equally? Well, I know 9 can divide 9, and I know 9 can divide 54. So that would be the largest number that divides both of them. I'm concerned about the greatest common factor. So do they have a y in common? They don't. So that can't be pulled out. Okay, I'm going to do my parenthesis because here is where we do our division. So term by term. So I've got a negative 9y divided by negative 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1. Signs are signs are the same, so it's positive. And then we have y divided by no y, which is just y. Instead of writing my 1 and my y, I just turned it into a y. You don't have to do your 1 as a coefficient with variables. Then if I scoot over, I have 54 divided by 9, and that's a negative 9. So 54 divided by 9 is going to be 6. Signs are different, so it's negative, and then you close your parentheses. Okay, so very important right here. We actually need to pull out a greatest common factor again, but what you could do is just check. Do both of these parentheses match? Yes, they do. What's inside of it, inside of both of them, is y minus 6. I only need to write down one of them. Then I'm going to look and see what's left over. And that is going to go into a set of parentheses with each other. So my numerator just now became these two factors, y minus 6 and y minus 9. So let me write that.